This is the Grapple Rice Show, episode 40, Jon Owens. Welcome to the Grapple Rice Show. My guest this week is a British wrestling legend, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jon Owen. Thank you for joining us today, sir.
My pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, no, the pleasure is all mine. Our first question for you, as it is for anyone, it's the first time on the show. Where did it all begin for you?
Well, as you can see, I'm now an old man. I'm nearly 62. I began wrestling at the age of 18 in a place in southeast Cornwall called Torpoint. We watched wrestling on television and followed all those Marvel magazines of Spider-Man and people like that. And we didn't know what we were doing. And some say I still don't. And we used to wrestle in the park and have a go at grabbing each other. And over the years, I joined the police. I joined, first of all, the military police, MOD police, and I thought I was good. And I met a young police officer, tiny compared to me. He could actually wrestle. And even though I was twice his size, he would pick me up and he would throw me around. And I thought, what kind of magic is this? How can you do that? He taught me. Moved the clock on. I joined the Metropolitan Police, and one of the instructors was a wrestler, a Commonwealth bronze medalist. And I joined his club, and I met various different community groups, wrestlers from all over the world. And they taught me, and I was lucky. I won a few competitions, and I wrestled all over the world. And now, being old, I've had a fantastic journey. And trust me, if you do the sport, you'll have a fantastic journey. I want to give it to others. And he too can have the journey I've had. And it's been an amazing rush.
So what was it like then? So you're at that age, you've been doing a bit, and like you say, then suddenly you're meeting these guys who are smaller than you. I mean, and like you said, it's a while you think about it, and this is happening to you, you're getting thrown around there. What was that like initial impression? Was it sort of like, how is this happening to me? Or were you like, wait a minute, these guys have got something I don't know about here. What's or was it just like
It's,
shocking?
it's very, someone does something to you or beats you or whatever it is, wrestling or boxing or even car racing or whatever it is, someone beats you and you think, oh, they're better than me. And you could then give up. Yeah, it's very easy to give up. But I thought, well, how can he beat me? Why is he beating me? What has he got that I haven't got? And I want that. And that's my advice to everybody. I've got a cupboard full of trophies I can show you later. And people say, you must have been brilliant. No, I kept getting up until I could beat whatever was beating me. And I always tell people, if you get knocked down, and you will get knocked down, because the word wrestle is an old English word meaning grapple. Life is a grapple sometimes. It will knock you down. It will beat you. Why is it beating me? I don't know, but I'll get up. And I'll keep getting up until I beat it.
Yeah, so you've got into the wrestling now. You were saying about you joined a club. What was it like suddenly then going from someone who was doing a bit, thinking they knew about it, then you this has happened, and then you're going regularly. What changes did you notice in maybe sort of your style, your technique, or even your training methods? Because I think a lot of people are quite happy or know what I've seen is, well, I can do a couple of moves, but when you actually get into the regular grind of wrestling, suddenly it can take a little bit of a turn. How was that for you?
Well, I thought I knew it all, and I joined the London Police. I was in my early 20s, and I wanted to find a wrestling club. And I was recommended this wrestling club in a place called Sylvan Hill, which is near Crystal Palace. It doesn't exist anymore. I went there, and there was this massive hall full of these monsters wrestling. And then you're a bit blown away, first of all. Blimey, the size of these guys. And the instructor, the policeman, who was a Commonwealth bronze medalist, said, "Who wants the new man?" And I was like, "I'm not a new man. I'm in my early 20s. I've seen life." "He's a policeman, you know." And they all stopped. They looked at me and they gave me the beating of my life. And it was a beating. And I remember crawling on my hands and knees to my car and pulling myself up the door to try and get in. How I got home, I don't know. And I've had this mentality, well, I got beaten. Let's go back and have another go. And stubborn, yes. That's always me be. I came back and someone said, "The copper's back. Policemen don't normally come back here." And they gave me another beating, and I kept going back because this first club was all about, it was aggression, it was technique. And it was now something serious, not something you would lark around in a park or lark around with your mates. This was serious. These people were taking things seriously, and it was very intensive. And one thing about our sport, your sport, my sport, it's the most multicultural sport I know. And that's what I love about it. I met a few Sikhs, Punjabi people, which is a large part of India. I'm part of Pakistan, but a large part of India. And wrestling is there, one of the bigger sports. And they said, "You must come with us. You're very strong, but you don't use your strength." And they took me to Southall, which is a very large Punjabi community. And they taught me a more strong, brutal way of wrestling. And it was brutal, but they were very strong. And they would give you knocks that you wouldn't believe. And they would take knocks that I couldn't believe. And they taught me how to be strong, how to stand up for yourself. Pride. And a little while later, I met the Iranians, or the Iranians, we would call them. And to them, wrestling was an art. I met a very large group in West London of Iranian wrestlers. And this hall full of the most beautiful wrestling. It was like almost like a ballet. They were so clever. And the one thing I learned many things from them, but there'll be 40 or 50 Iranian people there and one English person, me. And Iranians will be supporting me against other Iranians. They'll be shouting at me to come on and do better against their fellow countrymen. And as well as learning wrestling from the Punjabi people, the Iranian people, I learned deep down wrestlers, wherever they are in the world, wrestlers. And if the wrestlers can do that, wouldn't the world be a better place if we could all do that?
No, definitely, especially with all the things that we're seeing at the moment. Yeah, yeah, you're definitely right on that one. Um, so from there, then you are now taking in these different parts and slightly different styles and techniques and that. How are you molding those together? Because I mean, we've got the freestyle rule set as I
Mm,
know it now. I know it's been tweaked a bit over the years, as you
mm.
probably contested. But how does that? How are you putting this together now? Because everyone can learn different things, and we see it now with MMA and different things. People are learning different techniques from different things and trying to put them together. Did you have a strategy of sort of putting them all into your toolbox sort of thing and
Yeah,
developing?
there's an old expression, I love the expression, toolbox, and I'm glad you brought it up, that if the only tool you have in your toolbox is a hammer, you'll treat everything in life like a nail, which is not very good. Meeting all these different community groups, they wrestle differently. You get the East Europeans, they'll almost pull the flesh off your bones. The Americans, they're busy, 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 busy. They're both right. The Punjabis are so aggressive. The Iranians, so almost like poetry. I put a bit of every tool in my toolbox. And the original British people I trained with, so tough. So I'm using all the tools because I don't want to treat anything like a nail. I want to have a tool for everything. So today I finished coaching wrestling. We had some smaller people. Let's use some speed on them. Some bigger people. Let's get some strength on them. So different tools, different wrestlers.
How then? What you've got all this down, you're developing now as a grappler, so you've got these different tools in your toolbox now. You're moving forward, you're getting older. I'm imagining competitions are starting to appear and things like that. How is that like that can you remember that first competition or that first big tournament or
Yeah, I remember competition. I God blimey. I think 1990 was my first competition, and there's only two in my weight group, and I got a silver medal up. I was proud about my first medal. I don't know if I can find it now. And the next year, I decided to go for another one, and there was nine people, not two, nine in my weight group. And the guy I was wrestling, I got to the final with, he was hurting people. He was quite a brutal person. He was chopping people in the throat. And into the final, he was shaking his hand a lot. And I remember my cornerman saying, John, he's hurt his hand. So I can see. Make sure you hurt it some more. And I did. And well, I'm proud of that. I got my first ever gold. And the feeling of traveling everywhere and meeting different people, getting on a mat and win, draw, or lose, coming away thinking you're a world champion. You know, you came last year, but the world champion. And wrestling people from all over the country, all over the world. Get on the mat with someone who doesn't even speak your language. You shake hands. You think, blimey, I'm in Sweden. I'm in America. I'm in Macedonia. I'm in Australia. And I'm doing my best. I've actually beaten someone from another country. Or I've beaten someone from another city or another county. It's the most amazing feeling. But even if I lost and I did my best, and that's the message I want to give everybody, winning's nice. Taking part and doing your best is just as nice.
in all your travels then as you're going, was there anywhere where there was that either maybe a technique or a certain bit of the style that sort of made you open your eyes a bit. But, oh, I've not seen this before or that because already you've got quite a grounding, like you're saying, the different styles you got, and as you're developing further and traveling around and wrestling, was there something somewhere that was like, oh wow, in this country or in this town or in this place, there was this technique or this something that just made you sort of stop and think about it again because we all have those little bits sometimes.
Yeah, I was watching people do leg attacks. Now, leg attack in all male wrestling, not so much female wrestling, there's just more spread over the different techniques. But in male wrestling, the highest point scoring move is a leg attack, be they schoolboys, cadets, seniors, or veterans. I can't believe veterans do leg attacks, but apparently they do. The leg attack, and there's so many different types of leg attack. If you ever get a chance to watch a video of Jordan Burroughs, his leg attacks are legendary. But I remember practicing for hours on my own, just shooting in, grabbing a knee, shooting in, grabbing a knee, shooting in, grabbing a knee. And I remember a competition in Manchester where I was 5-0 down. And I don't even hear the voice. It was on the video. John, the usual. And I didn't even hear that. But I shot him and took a leg and he fell over and went backwards. I guess that's what he meant, the usual. The leg attack, the leg attack, the leg attack. Different types of leg attack. Never as good as Buster. I mean, Busters were amazing, but I didn't do badly.
Okay. So you're now competing around, you're traveling around the world. Because a lot of people now that I was introduced to you as like this, well, as a coach, really. That's the time when I saw your documentary, which I'll link in the show notes for anyone watching. when does coaching start to become part of it? Because obviously you're going around, you're learning this technique, you're competing yourself. When does that? Not everyone feels the urge for it to be a coach or the gets drawn in that direction. What was it for you that sort of led you towards that way as well?
That's a very good point, and it's something I regret one thing, and I'll come to that in a second. I did a coaching course when I was still competing because I wanted to learn more. When you teach something, when you give, you only truly receive when you give. And I was teaching people who've never wrestled before how to do something. And I was trying to explain it. And in explaining it, it made it more clear to me. I was actually learning moves better by teaching them. So I enjoyed doing that. I wasn't a qualified coach, but I would help people. Oh, yes, that's how the move works. And in a way, I was teaching myself. And even today, I still teach myself. And if I could put this in the podcast, there's a style of fighting called sambo, which is half shorts and half judo jacket. And there was a huge guy who brought it over to this country called Martin Clark, a massive guy. And ironically, he lived about 5-6 miles down the road. And I was traveling all over the place, teaching, going to wrestle. When I was competing, I was out 6 days a week. So if I wasn't being a policeman, I was wrestling. And they said, you must go and meet Martin Clark. Yeah, all right, I will. But I was traveling to Bedford, to Hatfield, to West London, to South London, to Central London. I was traveling everywhere. John, have you met Martin Clark yet? I will. Come on. I'm out every day teaching. And this was going on for years. Have you met him yet? Sadly, Martin Clark went swimming off the coast of Sheppey and had a heart attack and passed away, and I never met him. I've met his son and he's met his grandson, and I've been down his club. It's not the same. But in my not my desire to be the best I could be, perhaps I was a little bit too hasty, and perhaps I should have taken time to meet one of the greats.
No, it's yeah, it's so many things like that, and we do. I mean, it's training 101 as well. Sometimes everyone's life gets in the way. We have to miss that class or that class or whatever. But like you say, it's just it is it's sad when it's like that.
Yeah, but
So it's it's the what you do next. I think is the main bit from that. What you can learn from that. Yeah. So what from one great coach to another. Then so how are you? You're going into the coaching of it now. You're thinking about as you're saying. You're doing it to help yourself learn as well. How does that develop on? You've done the course. That's great, but doing the course is one thing. When it's the weekly grind or setting something, I don't know if you were coaching that club already or you wanted to set one up. There's a whole that's a whole well that could be a podcast in itself.
yeah, there's a lot more to being a coach than being a coach, if that makes any sense. Um, I'm trying to use my words very carefully now. Um, we've all got, well, many of us have got issues. There's something going wrong. They haven't got money. They've got mental health problems. They've got physical health problems. There's drug abuse. And I did say I want everyone to be a champion because I'll say I was very, very lucky. And I want you to be the best you can be. But if the best you can be is being on the mat once a month, but I can't because I'm dealing drugs or I'm self-harming, I've got mental health problems, I've got no money, that will stop you. And what I've enjoyed over the years is helping people conquer that one thing. So if they haven't got money, well, I won't charge you. If you haven't got it, I'd rather you be down here for nothing. Because one day you could become a champion and I helped you. Or a number of times I've driven around the streets trying to find someone because he's out dealing. All right, let's stop that. Let's try something else. And if you can turn them away from doing that, that's going to be worth more than any gold medal. If you can help somebody change their life around, or more than one person change their life around, give themselves confidence. And it came, I remember years and years ago, I was coaching in a place called Bromley. And there was a young man, he was about 14, and he was so painfully shy. It took 3 weeks for his mother to persuade him to get on the mat. He just wouldn't get on the mat. No, 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 maybe next week, maybe next week. And eventually came on the mat, and he did rather well. By the time he was 16, he was English and British junior champion. He was a natural. Anyway, mum moved and left the area and took him with him. Well, people move on. That's a sport. I'm always a great believer as you depart as friends. Should your paths cross again, it will be as friends. And 11 years later, I was still at Bromley, and he turned up, 27, carrying a little baby boy of his own. And I said hello to him, and it was mostly children wrestling there. And we had one older man who passed away recently. And these three guys turned up from London who were not nice people. They were wrestlers, but they weren't nice people. And I said, what do you guys want? Oh, we want to wrestle, don't we? Well, we've only got him and children here. We'll wrestle him. And one of them picked this man up and just dumped him on the ground, hurting his chest. And I thought to myself, okay, if that's what we want to do, let's wrestle. And the young man said, do you mind holding my baby? And he gave me that shy voice he had all those years earlier. Yeah. Do you mind if I wrestled him? I said, please help yourself. And he gave them a very good lesson in wrestling. So much so they left. And afterwards he picked up his child. And I said, well done. And I never saw him again. And I thought, well done you.
That's good. That's good. So, what advice would you be giving them? Because there's a lot of people now, and obviously British wrestling is trying to get more coaches on board. There's a big call for that, and like a call to action for that at the moment. What advice if someone's out there now and they're involved with British wrestling, they're competing themselves or whatever it is they're doing? What advice would you give to them? Maybe if they're thinking or considering about coaching.
There's a lot more to being a coach than being a coach. Now, what makes a great person a great fighter? Two things. One, their ability to do the sport. Your ability to be a good wrestler is, yes, I'm a good wrestler, I can do this. The second thing is being a good person. The rules of yesteryear are as true today as they were then. Generally speaking, the tougher someone is, the nicer they are, the more well-mannered they are. So if I hear a coach coming out with this coach is this coach is that, this coach is this coach is, it's a very negative thing to put someone else down. Even if you believe it, come on, you're better than that. You're supposed to be a great person. So if you want to be a coach, encourage yourself and encourage others. Be positive. Pick up people along the way and help them be the champion that they could be. And trust me, in the long run, the reward comes back 10 times. You shouldn't be doing it for the reward, but it does come back 10 times. When you see young people or not so young people doing things. I had a mother stop me about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I've been coaching her son, and her son's starting to get good. And she said, since he's been wrestling for now, 6, 8 months, and he's under the doctor now, he's off all ADHD medicine.
Yeah.
He wasn't just taken off, it was with medical guidance. He's now off ADHD medicine. Because I've noticed a lot of young people, you're younger than me, but sadly you're not as young as some people. They get bombarded. Society's a lot harder now. You've got a thing called social media. I know we're on it. Social media is a false world which bombards people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, tortures people that you're failing in a not real world. That's torture. And people grow up thinking, I'm not good, I'm not this, I'm not that. And wrestling will give them confidence to get up, ignore that, and be the best you can be. Not in this fake AI-generated world, but in a real world. And if you can help someone do that, That's an amazing reward for them and yourself.
That's brilliant. Now, as your careers develop, obviously we've talked about the documentary. I don't want to go into too much because I want people to watch it, so I don't want to do too many spoilers. And again, I'll link it in the show notes. But there was, I'm going to word this carefully because I don't want to make it all about this. But there was evidence of maybe some political differences that you may have had with British wrestling at a certain point. Would you say that? Um, would you like to talk about? I don't want to dig out old things
Yeah,
if it's not the right time to do it, but or just to sort of summarize it, because obviously you're back now in the recent thing, but just to kind of
yeah, it was.
summarize it or in a nice way.
Yeah. Now, the lottery. I remember when the lottery first started. It could be you, and they made a lot of money, and there was a lot of fuss at the time that what are they doing with this money? And in the end, Sport England got developed. And at the time, if you go back to the Olympic Games, Britain used to get one or two golds. That was it. And with sport lottery funding, and I'm not going to bore you because it's in the documentary anyway, but they went up to experts in different sports and said, "What would it take to be good?" So much money, and they invested in these experts, and those sports produced a lot of gold medalists. And now, if you follow the Olympic Games, Britain's always in the top 10 or even the top five medal winners. Consider how small we are; it's amazing. In excuse me, in 2000, I went to a meeting, and the Olympic Games was going to be in Paris or London, a home Olympics. And I remember the chairman saying, "We've been given a sum of money, like quite a large sum of money. It's going to be a home Olympics. We've got to get a medal." We had 12 years, and I really wanted the investment to be in grassroots, in the schools, in the clubs, build the clubs up, especially the schools. Ironically, what we're doing now, and that's why I rejoined it. And I got told, "No, we're not going to do that. We're going to bring over the Ukrainian second team." And I remember making a comment at the time, whether the Ukrainian first team don't get that many medals, I'm sure the second team are going to get less. And I had a horrible feeling that this money was going to get misspent. And I'm not going to go into great details, but sadly, a large sum of money, and it was a very, very large sum of money, was spent. And in the 2012 Olympics, we had one wrestler, one fight, one loss, and the money was gone. And a very large sum of money was lost off of that one fight because it was misspent. And that was our golden opportunity to make wrestling big. And I had nothing to do. I carried on wrestling. I carried on wrestling outside British wrestling. But I was so disappointed that that was our golden opportunity to make wrestling big. And I've been following wrestling on the outskirts, and I've been very vocal against it. I have noticed that the people running it now are actually doing what I wanted all those years ago. I'm sure they didn't do it because it's my idea. And we've gone from 20 clubs in the country to 83. We had, I think, 7 clubs in the south. We got 25. And if we can get more clubs, more people doing things, more people off the streets, more young people, or not so young people, to have a go at what is the sport of kings, the king of sports, things can only get better.
100%, 100%. Well, you mentioned earlier, like it was the sort of the grassroots drive that sort of brought you back. In your opinion, then, because that's something I agree with as well. As I say, with at Neon with Achilles, our head coach, we're a grassroots. Very, we do 2 competitions a year. We've got the Neon Open and the Solent Open, which are like the sort of
Mm.
I forget the word for it now, but like the lower end competition. I forgot what it's called
Novices.
now. What was it? So I couldn't hear that.
Novices.
Yeah, like the novice competition. Yeah, that's what I'd say. Yeah, and I'm trying to think of 20 things about. And and we do that. So we have that twice a year, and that's building up. But even with that, sometimes trying to again, it's that thing of the coaching thing, and then there's the whole other battle of maybe do people want to compete or not that are doing it, and trying to build it up in, like you say, in the whole sort of southern region. Really, that's what we'd like, because and going around and stuff. But what do you think then as a grassroots thing? As I said, it's something that I'm trying to do my part in. What would be your sort of vision of like building up the grassroots, or at least in our region? Because I know it's different around the country.
Well, yeah, it is different in the country. We need lots of small competitions because there's not enough of them. People learn wrestling, and they might be the best in their club. The club of six people, and they might beat the other five. That's if the other five turn up. And they decide to do a competition. Now, there's lots of little clubs with six people are wrestling, six people are wrestling. If we could have lots of small little competitions where they wrestle someone of their standard in another club, it will get better. At the moment, we haven't got enough competitions. So the competition will be a big one where we've got students who wrestled in their country, who wrestled for 30 years, wrestled for 20 years, were in the national team in France or in Iran or Russia, and you put your little novice against him and they or her, and they get beaten. It puts them off. So what I want to do is lots and lots of small competitions where people can wrestle their like and get experience of them. There was many when I competed, many competitions, and I want to see that day again. And maybe once every couple of weeks, there's a little competition you can enter. Money's a big problem. Money's a problem for us all, but if we could get sponsors or parents to help out and volunteer to be a referee, but I'll be nervous. You're refereeing at all these novice competitions, you'll soon learn. Once you have all these little tiny competitions, it's amazing how the standard will go. And once wrestlers start earning these little medals, a medal that cost £1, a piece of plastic with gold on it, gold-plated plastic, cost £1. But wow, my first medal. I remember winning the Irish Open, I think it was 92. It was a piece of wood with a plastic sticker on it. I was over the moon with a piece of wood with a plastic sticker. Because it's not what it is, it's what it represents. And to a lot of people, they might own a nice fancy car or live in a posh house, but they won that piece of plastic. They earned it the hard way. And that's what will build wrestling up.
Definitely, definitely. So what then do you think? So we've got the competition building out. What can clubs be doing, or in the air? What for like get even just getting people through the doors to begin with, and that. What do you think maybe clubs need to do? Because obviously we do get the battle and the thing with wrestling as well, and I've said this on other podcasts as well. Sometimes when you say it to parents, they Google wrestling and they either see someone getting a chair whacked over their head on WWE, or they see some sort of clip from UFC where someone's about to be belly to back on the top of their skull, and they're like, "Oh, not my precious." It's that sort of thing. Because that is what we're up against, sort of thing, in a freestyle environment. What would be like your thing on that? What recruitment drive would
Well,
you sort of recommend?
I would do a training video. You want to learn wrestling? Let's have a look at the video. You're doing a podcast now. A little training video of what wrestling is. Not, and you say, not to get confused with sports entertainment, and it is entertaining. We all like watching it. Not be confused with UFC. This is what I'm asking them to do. And what are the benefits? Strength, speed, stamina, confidence, health. Because we spend a lot of people spend all their time on their mobile phones or on social media, eating the wrong foods, not going out, not exercising, or going out and back.
The old computer games and all that as well. Yeah,
So a little training video, to say, have a look at this, and then decide. And if we could put enough of those out on flyers, little things in shops, they cost a few quid to print 100 out. You put them in takeaways, you put them in barbers, you put them in wherever, restaurants. If you go around your local shops and say, "Can I have these in your window?" I just put "learn wrestling." And before you make a decision about the sport, watch this video and then make your decision.
I like it. I like it. No, definitely. 'Cause that is something I think that most people, I would say, or most gyms, I think, or most clubs, it's that getting that recruiting in. I mean, I managed at one point where I work, so I'm a school teacher by day, and what I managed to get half a term on a Friday afternoon where I had about 6 or 7 kids, and we did it for like about half a term, but that was it really. Then the school moved on to something else. Like it was the next term they did something different, but it was. Trying to get it back in. I got close. I got it for half a term. I think that's more than
Well, you've
some.
done better
But
than most. That's something we're going to look at. I'm semi-retired now. Wouldn't think it, the number of hours I seem to be, but and pushing wrestling because in some places it will fold because running a gym is expensive, and
yeah,
as it folds, somewhere else will open. Getting into schools is a big thing. After school clubs. Now, the problem we have teachers, well, you're a teacher, you can prove me right or wrong on this. They've got a lot of better things to do. They live in a facts and figures occupation now, where not so much teaching young people how to learn something, it's proven they taught them to a good standard and that school's doing well. They spend a lot more time getting facts and figures and preparing for lessons and marking stuff in their own time. Have they got the time to run a wrestling club?
yeah. It's
And
also you're almost sort of there's like the whole welfare side of things now as well, in chasing out and meetings after school and things. I mean, a lot of my time. I mean, I specialise actually with SEN as well, so a lot of the kids I work with can't. I'm in a mainstream school, but we've got like a little separate bit because they can't cope with the crowds or whatever it might be. The autisms, the Asperger, all the different things. So some of those sometimes, as well as there's a lot in there to unpack in certain cases as it goes along. Yeah, no, teachers. Yeah, time is a valuable commodity for a teacher. Yes.
what I'm thinking um, is make two problems into one answer.
Mhm.
If I can get wrestling coaches who are qualified and they got DBSs and they got safeguarding and they got first aid, but they've got no venue and no mats, then I look at a school. It's got no coaches, but it's got a venue and mats. If only we could get the two together. So you've now got a venue and mats which won't cripple you, and you've now got qualified DBS trained, safeguard trained coaches, and you've now got wrestling at your school. And guess what? It doesn't cost you. And that's one thing I was looking at recently. The school approached me about wrestling, but I spoke to the head of the physical training. None of our staff could do it. We are so rushed. We are so short-staffed. We are so rushed. But don't have to. If you've got a venue and you've got mats, and we'll do wrestling for schools, make it games. People like games, and part of the games will involve wrestling, but they don't know it.
Yeah.
And you do grab the ball game or bounce the ball and do a leg attack underneath it. There's loads of games you can play. And bit by bit, they're learning wrestling. So we could bring two problems into one answer.
On that. As I said, that's something that I was trying to do, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It's a work in progress for me. But again, other areas and other places might be a lot more. Everywhere's
Well,
different, isn't it?
I
Let's
would try my
see what we
best.
can do.
We got a new chairman of British Wrestling, of Southern Wrestling. I was chairman from 97 to 2003, and I left because I didn't like the way it was going. And we got a new chairman, Stefan. He's not a young man, but he's a lot younger than me. And I spoke at length to him, and he's got lots and lots of ideas, ideas I agree with. So hopefully we can get the region together. The south of England, we're a very big area, and we're very lucky. We have the most multicultural people.
Mm.
The people who like to wrestle we're lucky and we'll play to our strengths. And it's getting to know each other. That's the next thing. getting to know each other, getting to know London from Slough, from Devon and Cornwall, from Southampton to Portsmouth. Once we get to know people and we notice we're all different, deep down we're all the same, things will get a lot easier.
And now that was going to lead on to my next question, really. 'Cause obviously, as your um, is it deputy or vice chair now, and with that from the meeting the other weekend, we've got a new chairman now. Are there any other visions or plans for wrestling in the southern region?
Oh, there should be.
That you,
Devon,
wait,
I'm on holiday next week, and Craig, the director of British Wrestling, has called for a meeting next week, which is unfortunate because I'm away. But there's lots of plans. I would like to see lots of competitions. I'm looking at different ways of getting funding because councils are broke. Without going into the politics of things, your local authority, be it a county council or a council like in Medway here, they've all got the same problem. They've got no money. Rising costs and things like social care, cuts in public spending. So there's no way the council will fund you anymore. Lottery funding is everybody wants more money from pots.
you,
Not get
you
it.
can't rely on it, can you? Either it could be a one and done thing. It's not a constant flow
No.
of income. Same as a lot of the charity donations and things. Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
And British wrestling, uh, contrary to popular opinion, is not loaded with millions of pounds. It hasn't got the money itself. So clubs have to be a bit more imaginative, generate their own money, and it's not impossible. Approaching local businesses, and say, look, we're going to have a little competition. We're going to get a church hall, get little advertising boards, £50. We'll put your advertising board up. I've got 50 advertising boards. Well, that's £2,500. Would you buy the medals? How much are the medals? 30 quid. Well, there, that's that paid for. How much was the hall? That was a tenner. A little raffle for the mums and dads. And before you made it, your club's made enough money to send kids away on competitions, to send someone on a referee's course or a coaching course. But clubs have to be a bit more, and grown-ups are the wrong word, a bit more imaginative. Not expect others to give, but to look for it yourself.
Definitely.
And I
I mean,
think
for one, oh, go on, sorry.
I will talk to Stefan and come up with ideas because I think there is a little bit of money going, and I was told about something I still don't know the ins and outs of called CRS. I only told about it on Sunday, where it's companies giving money to sports, and it's going to replace maybe lottery funding. I would need to know more about it, but companies will give money because they write it off at tax, and it's something looking good for them that they're supporting a local thing.
Yeah.
And we're supporting a sport which is probably the most diverse.
Yeah, so I mean,
We're helping kids
well,
with knife crime, drug use. Um, we're living in a more society where if someone looks different, it's an excuse to attack them. Bizarre as that is, and wrong as that is. So we're helping community tensions, building people together. So hopefully companies were saying, well, I'll be part of that. I trade in this area. I would like to see young people not walking the streets or fighting each other or being aggressive towards one another. I want them working together.
no, 100%. As I say, that was another one I was going to ask about. You've done that video. Well, I saw it recently anyway. The racism one that you sort of covered all that sort of thing. Talk about that. I mean, that's another sort of strong point that you sort of stand by, and it's admirable to see that because at a time where um people don't want to seem to be tied to a viewpoint in some cases, and maybe some hire people up that should do. That in this country at least, having people like make a stand. And again, to me, it goes back to what you were saying earlier on about, being a coach. What are you teaching the people you're with? It's not just the technique; it's what the character, the I forget
Yeah,
the word I'm
I
looking for,
think
but just the not the mystique, but that sort of thing of it. Like your the essence of it. And I think that's really really important.
I was listening to it was LBC. It was about 4 or 5 years ago. My son's disabled, and I was traveling back from this care home, and they were talking about people coming into the country legally, not illegally. That's a different matter. Coming to the country legally and taking our jobs, taking our jobs. And they love doing that, don't they? And I actually pulled over and I rang in. And I said, look, if you were lying in the road with a broken leg, crying out in agony, and you can hear an ambulance coming in the distance, and what goes through your mind? I hope they get here quick. I'm in a lot of pain. Or worse, that effect. Or will you think to yourself, I wonder what colour the driver is, or their sexuality, or I wonder what their religion is? You wouldn't, would you? You just want them to get there and help you. And my argument is, if it's not important at important times, it shouldn't be important at any time. When I go to the doctor, I don't care what colour they are, or what sex they are, or what race, religion, sexuality. I don't care. And I remember recently, I went into it's kind of slacked off thing. I went into local hospital. I was due an X-ray, and it was a long queue, and the person behind the counter was struggling to type away, and the queue was getting very long, and we were all patient. It was just one of those things. Then I saw this person arrive with 2 crutches and can hardly walk, escorted by 4 staff members. And he was doing their best to walk. And I thought, well, this person clearly needs the X-ray more than we do. And I wasn't the only person to come to that conclusion, because we were physically moving away from the window so this person could come first.
Yeah.
And I watched, they took the person around the back. I thought, oh, they're taking him straight in. Oh, they've taken him into the office. And he then sat on the computer next to the woman who was struggling, logged on and said, right, who's next, please? And he got rid of the queue in seconds. He was a member of staff. And it's very easy to see a difference in someone and think they're different to us, therefore they're inferior to us. And one of the many things about wrestling is you'll meet a lot of people who are different to you, but no one's inferior, and nor is no one superior. And that's one thing wrestling has taught me.
Oh, brilliant. So what next for you then? So as someone who has travelled around, you've had your wrestling thing, as you say, you're semi-retired now, you're coaching, you come back as vice chair now. What's left on your sort of wrestling bucket list? What else do you hope to achieve with your sort of wrestling career?
My ultimate ambition is to do nothing. That is my ambition, to do nothing. To turn up at a competition with my little sandwich box and a flask of black coffee, and to watch brilliant wrestling. But to do this ambition, and it's a very selfish ambition, I would like to see there were loads of clubs, loads of competitions, loads of referees, loads of coaches behaving like coaches, and loads of wrestlers. And I will be working as hard as I can. We've just had a coaching course, which took some organization, with 9 people on it. That was on Sunday. We're already planning the next coaching course. We're planning about clubs joining the British Wrestling Association. I'm going down on Saturday to talk about competition. I'm going to work hard, that's on my bucket list, to get as much done as possible so I can do nothing. It's a bit selfish, really. But I would love to see people do better than I think I ever did.
Oh, that's an amazing way to put it. Yeah. So if anyone is listening to this and they're thinking, right, I'm liking the sound of Jon, maybe he can come and help me at our club, or maybe I can ask him for advice or anything like that. What is the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Probably through the British Wrestling Association website. You can find my name and details in there. British Wrestling Association website. I don't know if you're going to put a link of contacting you.
Yeah, I can link that in the notes. That's not a
Yeah,
problem.
and I coach in a variety of places. The main one being Carson Gracie in Tunbridge, Evolution Gym Rochester, and there's just started in a club in Greenhithe as well. So, but I do travel and I coach. But if you want to speak to me or ask my advice or say thank you or not thank you or say you were rubbish, contact me via the BWA or any links you want to put up.
Okay, we should do that. Well, I'd just like to take this time now to thank you for this and just say, is there anything else you'd just like to add on the end there? Maybe anything you haven't got out yet you wanted to say, or anything else, or any shout outs, or
Well, I'd like to. I'm going to put this. One thing I want to say is I heard this expression today, and I like the expression. And I'm going to try and use it. Doing something new is scary. Whatever you do in life, doing something new, be it take up wrestling, new job, that step from the known to the unknown. That's what you're doing. You're taking a step from the known to the unknown. It's scary, and being scared is nothing to be ashamed of. But at least if you're a wrestler, you'll give it a damn good fight and a damn good go.
so wise words, Al, wise words. Well, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us this week. It's been an
And,
honour to have you on the show.
and thank you, Brad. Hopefully we'll meet very soon.
Oh no, definitely, yeah, week two, and I'll drag you back on there at some point as well, because I've probably got 100 more questions, and I'll go, oh, I didn't ask that. But no, it's really great. It's really great, and so thank you very much.
Thank you so much. You take care.
Thank you once again to Jon Owens for taking the time to join us this week. I have been your host, Brett Summers, and as we move on to the next episode, you can keep track of everything we're doing at the grappleofyoureye.com. You can find all our past episodes there, the social media links, and everything else we're up to. If you like to watch our podcast, the new episode drops every Thursday at 7 a.m. UK time on our YouTube channel. At the same time, the audio episodes drop across all the various podcast apps, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Amazon, and all the other apps that you can find us on podcasts. So, give us a like and a review on YouTube, give us a subscribe and enable notifications, maybe leave some comments. They really do make a big difference to us getting out there and spreading our message. So anything like that would be truly, truly appreciated. As I say, though, this episode is drawing to a close now, and we will be back next week with a new guest for you. So in the meantime, stay safe and stay on the mats.
I tend to tell people, from an amateur wrestler to a professional wrestler to a cage fighter to being the alpha male of senior citizens now.
I would definitely recommend BJJ. I say quite frequently, I think it's really helped Clay. It's given him some structure, it's given him discipline, and also, but probably the most important thing, it's given him a routine. I mean, with the training, he knows where we're going to be, what day. He goes into the same gym or the same gyms now because he trains at different gyms, and it's helped him. It's built relationships with his peers. He's got great friends. He's got some great role models in the gyms that he trains at, with not only the coaches but all the adults that are there. And it's just a great environment. It took me by surprise. It wasn't what I expected when we first walked into a gym.
And it's interesting in that there are a number of tournaments that are promised and organized with the Future Federation. And in one of them, there's a clause there will be tournaments with strikes involved, but they will be held under different regulation. And I saw that, and I completely missed that the first time I read that document, right? And I'm going, holy cow. I think that our forefathers, our founding fathers, they had the wisdom to see that a competition rule was going to drift away from the reality of combat, and that a rule set with strike was necessary in order to maintain that foot in reality.
When I qualified for the Olympic Games and being the first female in wrestling for New Zealand, yeah, I think that really took the cake. I think that was the best feeling ever, and I think about it often still, and it still makes me feel really good.